Hello! Welcome back to our Campaign for Hope. This is our second video. I'm Rebekah Harmon, and I am honored that you have returned and that you're inspired by this idea that recovery is possible. Recovery from depression and anxiety is possible. And I'm glad that you're back to learn more about what you can do to improve your brain chemistry. In the last video, we talked about the 5 stages of depression or anxiety recovery, and it's just a bummer to me, like a real super bummer, that most folks I know, live the rest of their lives in the first or the second phase, and they never reach full recovery. Well, in our last video, we also talked about natural treatments and things that you can do at home yourself right now in order to help manage your depression and anxiety symptoms. Those things were eating enough omega-3s, receiving morning light therapy, eating a diet rich in phytochemicals, and exercising regularly. But we also talked about the thing that gives us really exciting hope, and that is Dr. Neil Nedley's philosophy about depression and anxiety and what causes it. So I will tell you more about that in this video. This is the one where you'll get to learn the hope that is contagious, the hope that helped me move forward and actually find a full recovery. Now, who am I to tell you about these things? Well, I have been myself in the pit of depression and anxiety. I'm one of your peers, and I have clawed my way out, and now I am stronger than I ever have been before, and I want the same for you. So let's talk today about Dr. Nedley. He is a leading physician as an internal medicine physician, and also he works so much in this field of depression and anxiety, of mental health, and his big thing is to help people completely recover from depression and anxiety. And here's what he feels. Here's his hypothesis about depression and anxiety. He's done so much research and knows that there are hundreds of causes of depression, literally hundreds, but they fit in to 10 different broad categories. So there are 10 categories of causes of depression. And the exciting thing is that only 2 of them can't be reversed or changed or reduced so that the brain's no longer stressed by them. And everyone who is experiencing a depressive episode has at least 4 of these causes active at the time. So if you're doing the math on that, there's 10 causes. You have to have four of them or more at a time in order to feel depressed or anxious, and only 2 of them we can't fully get rid of. So the hope is that whatever 4 or more causes you're experiencing right now, you can fully reduce them until your brain is no longer expressing the stress that's creating depression and anxiety in your life. Okay, that's so exciting, right? I know, so exciting. Okay, let's talk about the 10 causes and what they are. The first cause, the first category of causes is genetic. Now, when I say genetic, most people freak out and they're like, oh, my dad and my grandma, they both had depression, so I'm doomed. Which is not the case. That's not the kind of genetics I'm talking about. Your brain makes all of its chemicals or neurotransmitters that help to balance our moods and deal with our daily emotions. Your brain makes those chemicals based on a recipe that's in your DNA. And you do inherit your DNA from your parents. But what genes are being expressed alters the way that the recipe that your brain has for making neurotransmitters or serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, all of those ones that you hear about that change the way that you experience life. So if you have a faulty gene, then maybe you don't make enough serotonin. But you should know that Dr. Dean Ornish says that genes that are expressed has a lot to do with our lifestyle. And within just 2 weeks, 500 genes we know about change their expression to either upregulate or downregulate. So the good news is that you can change, you might not be able to change your DNA code, but you can change what genes are functioning in your body right now. Okay, so sorry. I love science and I can get way off on science tangents. I'll stop right there for now, but I just want you to know that Dr. Nedley considers genetics to be one of the most difficult categories to change. It's the booger that hangs on. The second booger that's hard to get rid of is trauma. So those are past grievances that you have lived through that actually do alter the way that your brain makes neurotransmitters. So, side note, the two hardest boogers, according to Dr. Nedley, the two hardest causes to get rid of are the two that the modern medicine world is currently focusing on. We want to change the way that you're expressing genes and give you more serotonin with medications, or we want to change the trauma that you've experienced or your perception of the trauma. Those are the two hardest categories. The rest of the 8 categories we can change or reduce or adapt so that your brain is no longer stressed by them. And here's the rest of what they are. The third category is frontal lobe health or frontal lobe circulation. So if you have had concussions, or other damage to your brain, or you just have really poor circulation, maybe a sedentary life, then your brain is not getting adequate nutrition. Your blood's not bringing in nutrition and taking out garbage the way that it's supposed to. So we can actually improve circulation in your frontal lobe and change this category for you. The fourth category is addiction. And I know when I say the word addiction, most of us think of illegal substances or alcohol, but the truth is that any addiction changes the way that our brain expresses its chemistry. So caffeine or sugar or processed foods or shopping for stress or gambling or romantic relations, all of these things mess with the pleasure centers of our brain, which makes it difficult for our brain to make healthy brain chemistry. So the good news is that while stopping your caffeine habit might seem impossible right now, using the tips that I'm going to give you later, the baby steps that I'm going to give you later in this video, you can actually begin to feel better and better and better until that addiction doesn't have such a strong hold over you anymore. And you can kick it. You will feel empowered enough to kick that if you begin to exercise these baby steps that I'll give you. So stay tuned. Okay, the fifth category of Dr. Nedley's depression causes is medical conditions that maybe are being overlooked or that you don't know. So let's say there may be a thyroid thing going on in your body that you're not aware of, and that's going to change how you feel up here. So maybe going to a practitioner and asking to check all of your hormone levels and seeing if there's not some adrenal thing going on or some early menopause going on that you didn't know about, that can really influence your brain chemistry. So that's a category that we can deal with too. The sixth category is your circadian rhythm, and this is like the big one that everyone knows about. But if your brain isn't receiving enough sleep, then it won't be able, it's incapable of making a healthy balance of brain chemicals. So I know this is a difficult category for lots of people, but there are like so many remedies, natural remedies for sleep up my sleeve, and I'm excited to share a whole bunch of them with you, but just know that's one of the categories that alters or causes depression and anxiety. The seventh category is toxicity. Now there's the toxic stuff from just normal tissue waste that builds up every day, and if that's not properly handled by your body, that can change your brain chemistry. And then there's the other category of things that are not normal and shouldn't be there, which we can do tests for to make sure that your body's not dealing with a high level of copper or of mercury or of other substances that would change your brain chemistry. So this is another category we can deal with, we can cope with. The eighth category is social grief. So this would be things like sorrow from loss of a loved one, or living in a difficult situation for a long time. It's really, really hard, and your brain does change chemistry when you're in a hopeless situation. So this could be a long-term negative relationship, or stress at work that's not going away and you don't feel like it will go away. That kind of social grief is a category that can change the way your brain makes neurotransmitters. And the good news is we can, thankfully with support, change social grief so that it's no longer affecting you. The 9th category is nutrition, and it's my favorite category. Basically, your brain needs ingredients to make neurotransmitters, like serotonin. One of the precursors is tryptophan. And so if you're not eating enough tryptophan, or if you're not eating enough omega-3s, or you're not absorbing what you are eating, then those things are going to limit how well your brain can express its neurochemistry. So eating enough of the right stuff can totally negate this category for you, which is why I'm a huge believer that diet can cure almost anything. Okay, the last category is exercise. And I'm not talking about like work your butt off, calorie burning, weight loss kind of exercise. I'm just talking about circulation boosting benefits of your heart actually literally changes when you're exercising. It needs a higher demand. It has more pressure on your vessels, which means that your body is going to receive benefits just because your heart worked harder. And that's what we need. We need circulation to flow better. We need the junk from yesterday to be cleared out, and we need nutrition for today to be brought in, and that can't happen if our circulation is poor. So how do you know which hits you have, or which of these stressors is causing your depression? You probably have 4 or more of them going on, so what are they? Well, I have some resources for you, some simple self-assessments, so that you can just kind of get a basic idea of which categories you should look into. There is a full-on depression and anxiety assessment test that's made by Dr. Nedley. He offers it on his website, and he's going to ask you lots of questions to help assess what your symptoms are and what causes them. So you'll know what your categories are after you take that test. Also, it tells you what your current emotional intelligence is, or your EQ. This is a really valuable test and totally worth $109 that it costs on its website. And if that's something that you're interested in pursuing and being really clear, it's important to be really clear on what causes your depression if you're going to overcome it. Then I will put a link in the show notes and you can pull that up and see it. But because I'm one of his certified Optimize Your Brain program facilitators, I can actually get you that test and the rest of what he teaches at a discounted rate. And so if that's something that you're interested in, the $109 for the test going towards the test and learning more, then I'll tell you more about that in the next video and some other programs that are available to you. Okay, so is all of this worth it? Yes, I want to give you hope. In just a second here, we'll pull up a chart and you'll see that Dr. Nedley leads a 10-day residential depression and anxiety program. What that means is people go to his location, and for 10 days they're just surrounded by all of the treatments that he does to address these 10 categories. And you can see from this chart that people that come to his program, the majority of them are experiencing major depression, but nobody leaves the program with major depression. That's huge. In fact, Dr. Nedley touts a 97% cure rate, recovery rate for his patients with depression and anxiety. Now, I'm telling this to you not because I want to brag or make you go buy his stuff, but because I want you to know that people are doing it. More people than just me have made it outside of the cave or the pit, and they are leading full and beautiful lives again. Now, I know, because I've been through depression and anxiety, that perhaps going and doing a live-in program like that for 10 days and leaving your family and your obligations isn't possible. And I know that thinking about going on a run or overhauling your diet, that might be so overwhelming to you that it seems impossible and you won't even give it a try. So I know, because I've been where you are, that we need to start with baby steps. And I need to talk to you about like the minimum thing. What's the one thing that I can add into my day or change that will really make an impact? So I'm about to tell you 5 of the things that you can do today to make tomorrow better And these are all baby steps. And I promise that if you give space in your life for these baby steps, you will feel better tomorrow. And the benefits will increase the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And they'll continue to improve for a month. At the end of the month, who knows what you will feel capable of doing. So here's the 5 things, the 5 baby steps. The first one is eating enough omega-3s, which we've talked about, but what the heck does that mean? What foods do you eat, and how much of them do you eat? Well, I have a great recipe for you that is in the show notes, and I'll pop it up on the screen here for a few minutes. You can pause the video or whatever, and you can see that with really simple ingredients that you can buy at any grocery store, you can make really delicious, scrumptious omega bites. And I have multiple recipes like this, so you don't have to eat the same thing every day. You can have chocolate ones one day, and you can have cherry flavored ones the next day. But anyways, it is really possible for you to get enough omega-3s from what you eat. You don't have to go out and buy a supplement. 2, exercise. So if you can walk around your house today, maybe go up and down some stairs, and tomorrow you can walk around the block, or the next week. Like, make realistic goals for yourself, and if you can work up to 20 minutes of physical activity, then that will improve your circulation, your brain will start to feel it, and you will actually feel a reduction in your symptoms in just 20 minutes of exercise. So start where you can today and improve, make a goal, set a plan to improve up to 20 minutes. Okay, the third thing you can do today to feel better tomorrow is take a cold shower. This is like, torture! I know it sounds terrible to take a cold shower, especially for those of you like me who love the hot water feeling all over their body. But, if you can withstand 4 minutes of cold water, and in order to feel better for the rest of the entire day, we're talking like 18 more hours of feeling good, then it's worth it. So give it a shot. And if you hate it, then you can send me hate mail. But if you happen to feel better, which is, I'm almost betting on the fact that you'll feel better for the rest of the day, then it was worth it. Okay, there is so much anecdotal evidence on cold showers helping with depression and anxiety, so give it a shot. All right, the fourth thing that you can do today to feel better tomorrow is my secret mommy timeout formula. So I'm going back to school to become a physician at some point, and I have used what I know about the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that most people think that you can't control. But there actually are a lot of things that you can, messages that you can send your brain using your body to tell you that it's time to chill out. And I have created a simple little formula that within just 5 or 10 minutes you can use to completely downsize the stress and alarm that your brain is feeling. And I will give you this formula in the next video. So stay tuned. Keep watching. I promise it's going to be worth it. It's a good one. Okay, so the last step has to do with, if any of these 4 things that I just mentioned, eating enough omegas, exercising, taking cold showers, and taking time out for yourself, if any of those feel impossible or really, really difficult, so much that you think you won't get it in, then the 5th habit to do today is to ask for meaningful help to make those other 4 things possible. So if that is like you're strapped for cash and you in no way can afford an omega supplement, ask someone that you love the next time they go to the grocery store to pick up $5 worth of flax seeds for you. And I bet you anything they will, especially if they know that you have a goal to eat more omega-3s for your mental health. If you have a really hard time imagining taking cold showers, then ask someone if you can borrow their space heater and put it right outside your shower and crank it up so that when you're done, you're not like an icicle for hours. That's something you can do for support. If taking time out for yourself feels impossible because you have kids beating on the door, then I want to say this to you, that maybe your meaningful help that you ask for is asking 7 different neighbors to each give you help for 20 minutes once a week, so that every day of the week that you have help with your babies so that you can take a bath or meditate or read a book things that you haven't been able to do in a long time. I was talking to one of my sweet girlfriends the other day, and she said that when she was going through a really difficult period where her husband was working long hours, which a lot of our husbands do, or maybe we do, long hours, and she just had a baby and she already had a child, and one day she was just dealing with her baby when her older child came up and said, "Mom, can you cut me a pear?" And she said in that moment, no, it was impossible to cut a pear. It was not going to happen. And she just broke down. To you moms that have been in that situation where a simple thing like running a lunch to your kid at school or whatever feels impossible, then I would say reach out to another mom or another person, another human being. We all have been in that crisis. We all understand, and we will run to your rescue to cut a pear for you whenever you are in that crisis. But there is this idea that if you constantly call on the same people with your crises, that you're going to wear them out. And so this last step, asking for meaningful help, changes the way that you are receiving support, because you're going to ask for a scheduled, short-term, finite, limited thing. It's easy for most support people, speaking from experience as a support person, to be able to fit that easily into their day. And you'll say, "Hey, can you come over tomorrow for half an hour while I take a bath?" And they'll say, "Absolutely, I'll come between 9 and 9:30 because that's when I have time." And it won't burn them out. And they'll cheer for you and encourage you, and you'll be encouraged. And that's the kind of long-term support that we need for sustainable improvement in our mental health. So these are the 5 baby steps that I promise you, if you can incorporate these into your life, you will feel better in a short period of time. How do I know? Because I've helped people to do it. Let's examine this case study. This is my sweet friend Reen, who had, at the time that I was working with her, she had recently had 2 concussions. So we know that that was one of her hits. Frontal lobe health was one of her trouble categories. She also was experiencing social grief from being let go from a job because of a car accident. So that's another category she was dealing with. She hadn't exercised in a long time because of this concussion. That's a 3rd category. And she was experiencing really crazy, lousy sleep due to a lot of other complications. So she had at least 4 of these trouble categories, of these 10 causing categories going on in her life. And I asked her to do a formula that's 1 hour a day of lifestyle medicine in order to improve those 4 categories. And she did. And after 10 days, just 10 days of making these changes, she said, "Each morning I'm still going through the regime that Rebekah laid out for me. I feel on top of the world, full of energy and happiness. And if I miss one day, it is noticeable. Thank you, Rebekah, for helping me feel like me, like myself again." So I've helped other people to use these steps, these exact things that I'm talking to you about, in order to completely change the way that they feel, to become marginally better enough that in 10 days' time they can feel like themselves again, and they can begin to live the lives that they want to again. So it's possible. Keep watching, because in the next video, remember, I will tell you my secret mommy timeout formula. I'll also tell you about more programs that are available so that you can have the kind of results that my dear sweet friend Reen has had. I have a question for you. I want to know, out of the 5 baby steps that I shared with you, which are the hardest? Which are the ones that are just a struggle for you? What would stop you from doing any of these 5 baby steps? Please make comments below, and if you do, then I will take time out on my busy day to make sure that I give you ideas or helps for those struggles, just because you watched this video and I want you to feel better. Thanks so much for watching. Keep watching. I've got more good stuff for you in the next video in this series on our campaign for hope. Please share this video with anyone that you know that needs a boost today.